We're back at a traditional venue back in the continental U.S., a slightly better field as we start ramping up for the PGA Championship. About to preview the Wells Fargo Open here on Gaming Golf. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Gaming Golf. Jeff Erickson here with Jeff Ritter and Scott Jenstad. The folks from RotoWire and SI Golf and Morning Read have all collaborated to do this with us every week. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. The Mexico Open went according to chalk. Jon Rahm won. He was by far the best golfer in the field, and he went wire to wire. I mean, is there much more to say than that, guys?
I'm not sure if you'll see a chalkier golf tournament maybe ever again. I mean, he was just such a runaway favorite, and Scott and I, as we sometimes do, we agreed that Rahm was a smart way to build your DFS lineup and then just get creative with the rest. And we got one right. That was the way to go. Rahm, it almost felt, it's weird that someone wins a tour event and, Rahm hadn't won anywhere since his US Open, but to still say, that's what he should have done. But that's kind of how it felt when you see Rahm kind of emerge from that field is, well, yeah, good win, but that's kind of what he should have done in that field. So
yeah, not only that, but it was 1-2. Tony Finau was the second most expensive golfer, and he finished tied for second.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, we talked last week about how Rahm was the most expensive guy, but still felt super underpriced. And I think that showed in the rostership. I think he was like 40% rostered in most of the bigger contests. So it was just we talked last week. I thought he should have been like 12-2 to 12-5, and it turned out that they probably should have been. It was a little bit too easy to pick him off the top and go from there. But yeah, Finau was fun. I mean, we talked one and done. That was my one and done pick. So it's good to get some cash in there. But he had a really nice Sunday. He and Brandon Wu went off on Sunday to put a little bit of pressure on Rahm, but it felt, I don't know, Sunday felt kind of anticlimactic to me.
Yeah. I couldn't find a Smotherman on my Sunday broadcast there. So, cause he was like 60th. So oops. Yeah. My streak on picking one and dones continues to go poorly. I was trying to do something different to be different than the field. Didn't work out. At least he made the cut. I mean, the funny thing is I had Rahm and Wu, and that was enough pretty much to cash a little bit at the very least, even though I think I went 4 or 6. Vaughn Taylor withdrew with the shoulder. So not only it's one thing to miss a cut, it's another when you only get one round's worth of play.
Yeah, it was tough. I had similar like good guys on the top, but I had Tyler Duncan who hurt. He missed the cut. So it was it was a week that I cashed in double ups, but tournaments were kind of an afterthought.
I was feeling cautiously optimistic about Cam Champ there heading into Sunday too. He was my sneaky slightly against the grain one and done. It didn't hit, but it was.
Well, he caught a really bad break, didn't he? I want to say he got the ball caught in the mud or something like that.
Yeah. I wasn't watching live at the time, but I caught some of the notes of that later on Twitter. But what are you gonna do? Rahm was the play all along. Although I give you credit for taking Austin Smotherman in a one and done. I mean, that was an against the grain move. It was a high risk, high reward play. And at least made
more like high risk, no reward, but that's okay.
when you could take someone in a one and done that you never heard of 3 months ago, that takes some guts right there.
Yeah. So woohoo! I had that going for me, which is nice. All right, enough of the Mexico Open. Let's move on to the Wells Fargo. Let's talk about this field, this tournament. Noteworthy first is the venue. That it's frequently it's down in North Carolina, but because the President's Cup is being played at Quail Hollow this year, they're moving it back to TPC Avenel, which is not a new venue. It's a place where they've had a tournament many times before, last time in 2018.
Yeah, it's the old Kemper Open. It's TPC Potomac is like it's not Quail Hollow, I guess is probably the best way to start. Quail Hollow's a big track, kind of rewards bombers, if you will. This is a tighter, shorter par 71. So it's the Wells Fargo still, but in name only, really. It's a completely different venue. And, you got Rory McIlroy. Traditionally, this is one of his kind of fishing holes, on the PGA Tour. He's had a lot of success at Wells Fargo. He's the biggest name in the field this week. So our conversation still probably starts with Rory, but you're talking about a totally different course in terms of course fit and what you're looking for. So.
And I think the biggest note of this is a really tough course. You look at when Quicken Loans they had here 2017, 2018. The cut in 2017 was +4. The cut in 2018 was +1. So you're talking about over par to make the cut in both times. The winning score in 2017 was -7. Francisco Molinari ran away in 2018. Actually, was -21. Won the tournament by 8 strokes. So you're still looking at second place -13. I think we're going to get more of a -10 to -13 kind of winner in here, and that really affects what you do. It's narrow fairways. From what I've read, pretty punitive if you miss the fairway. So guys who can club down and hit the fairway are really accurate drivers. Really important here. Small green, so you want to shot gains approach even more important than normal here. Maybe putting a little bit less so because the smaller greens you're not gonna have quite as many long lag putts. But it seems like driving accuracy, greens and regulation will be really important this week, and scoring is going to be tough. So those guys that make a ton of birdies maybe make some mistakes, not quite as high in my car as they normally are.
Only thing I remember about this course is two things. One, I used to play a video game in college with my roommates, video game golf game, and Avenel was one of the courses that was on it. And two, isn't this the course where Rory Sabatini went nuts about Ben Crane's pace of play? Where Ben Crane was just playing so slow. I thought I see
it could have been. It might have been. Boy, that's a really great anecdote. If you probably are right, but that was a fun.
I know it was like a DC area course.
Crazy,
and I want to say it was
crazy golf moments. Yeah. Sabatini and Crane.
Yeah, it's the weird little things you remember.
Yeah,
sometimes. All right, let's start breaking down the field here a little bit, and maybe we can find ourselves a winner this week. Top 5 golfers. Rory McIlroy is at 11.5. That's more than Rahm was last week, which I think is interesting. Finau at 10.6, Answer at 10.4, Corey Connors at 10.1, and Matt Fitzpatrick at 10,000. Still not like an elite field, but better than last week.
Yeah, thank God. A little better than last week. You're right. The Rory McIlroy price jumped out to me too. I think maybe the price setters at our games here realized they mispriced Rahm badly last week as such a dramatic favorite in a depleted field. But Rory's interesting, but I don't know. I mean, to me, the course history, the course profile, it has me leaning another way for the price. I think my favorite off this top tier is actually friend of the podcast, Corey Connors, for his tee to green game. It's only kind of recently come together for him, but I think where is he now? Like 6. He's at top 10 off the tee, strokes gained off the tee. He's 3rd in GIR. He didn't have a great start to this year, but I like the way he's trending, and I like the way his statistical profile lines up this week. So I'm intrigued.
Jeff and I don't always agree, but usually it goes pretty well when we do. I love Corey Connors in this tier also at 10-1. Really good setup for him. Accurate off the tee, good iron player, kind of all the stuff Jeff was saying. Playing well recently too. Is 12th at RBC, 6th at the Masters, makes 5 straight cuts, all those top 35. Gained really nicely tee to green and approach in 4 straight. If you look at the whole field, last 24 rounds, he's 5th in ball striking. I just think this sets up really well for him. Last week, I liked Rahm at the price. He was actually cheaper than Rory is this week, but just because there was nobody else there. I don't trust Rory quite as much as I trust Rahm, and the field's a little better. I think I'm not going to pay up. I like Connors at 10-1. I think Matt Fitzpatrick, at 10,000 is really solid also. I know he missed the cut at the Players in RBC, lost a ton of strokes putting at RBC, but 5 top 25s in those times we did make the cut. A really good course setup for him. You look at, it's just shot gain total, like all these metrics put together over the last 24 rounds. He's actually first in the field. He's been the best in kind of overall gaining shots. At 10,000, I think I'm starting with either Connors or Fitzpatrick this week, and kind of jumping off Finau and Rory this week.
Yeah, and I don't understand why Answer's up there at 10-4, to be honest. His recent form hasn't been special, and 42nd last week, so I'm not even sure why he's in this grouping, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just name value, but yeah, not someone that he hasn't had a top 30 since November of 2021.
Yeah. Okay, let's move down to tier 2, the 9,000s. Tyrrell Hatton's at 99, Mark Leishman at 97, Keegan Bradley 96, Russell Henley 93, Gary Woodland 91, and Patrick Reed at 9,000. Scott, do you like this tier? And if so, who do you like in this group?
Really like this tier. I considered dropping down and just playing 2 or 3 guys here, but I think I'll probably go with one of the like Connors and one of these guys. The 2 guys I like Keegan Bradley a lot, 9,600. He's a really good course setup for him. He's 4th in tee to green over the last 24 rounds. You take a look at this field. Last 4 tournaments, I know he had the missed cut, but 3 top 11s. Has put up high on the leaderboard. He was 8th at Valero last time out. Gained 4.1 approach, 8 shots tee to green. Just playing really well. Is a really good setup course for him where you need accuracy, and he can do that. And with the smaller greens, I worry less about his putting issues. And then for the kind of the same metric approach, I really like Russell Henley at 9,300. You look at the top 24 rounds, he's first in this field in shot gain approach, a really important stat this week. He leads the PGA in shot gains approach for the entire season. So been really good all year long. You look at some other stats, he's 3rd in tee to green, he's 6th in ball striking, just playing really well. I know he missed the cut at Heritage last time out. It was a week where he just putted terribly. He lost 4 shots putting. He still gained in tee to green approach. I like Henley a lot this week. So Keegan and Henley, my guys in this range.
Jeff?
With you on Henley, leading the entire tour in approaches is kind of that gets your attention, especially on a course that's not familiar. So, putting, everybody will have the same struggles with putting. It's smaller greens. You figure, look for guys who can hit it close. Russell Henley leading the tour is kind of that gets your attention. So I flagged him. And then I've still mentioned him just about every week now lately, it seems like. But Gary Woodland to me still feels a little underpriced for how well he's playing. Another quiet top 25 in Mexico. And I'm in still at this price on Woodland. Those are 2 guys for me.
I wanted to pick 2, but Woodland was my 3rd. I really like how he's playing, especially recently. Really nice last 3 weeks in tee to green. I know he missed 2 cuts, but they were the Players, which we've talked about many times. We kind of throw out, and the Masters. The other 5 were all top 25s and 3 top 10s. I mean, he's playing really well right now.
Yeah. Tempted. I'm almost tempted to go with 2 in the 9s here because of that, but that allows us, we'll see, to afford more, and we'll see what you guys think about the next couple of tiers, and that might inform the strategy there, how comfortable you are going into the 7s versus the 8s. Before we do that, though, quick note from our sponsors on the Blue Wire Podcast Network. And we are back here, and thank you for your indulgence on that. Let's hit the 8,000s. It's a small tier. There's not a whole lot of guys in the $8,000 tier. Paul Casey's at 88. Sergio Garcia's at 87. Max Homa, 86. Siwoo Kim, 84. Seamus Power, 83. Jason Day, 82. Webb Simpson, 81. Cameron Young is at 8,000. Guys, the optimizer really likes Seamus Power this week. Do you guys agree at 83? Jeff, we'll start with you.
Yeah, he was my first choice off this tier. I like the way he's playing. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's approaches again with him, or is it? Let me see. It's accuracy up T and GIR, 4th in greens and regulation this year. Again, same idea as Henley. You just look for guys that can safely stay out of trouble, keep themselves in play. Putting as a weakness is sort of mitigated. I like Power a lot. I also like Cam Young. I think, his rookies, I think sometimes these fantasy games are a little bit behind on rookies who are starting to emerge. Cam Young's had some flashes. He's more of a power player. He's like, he's another part of the new generation of just guys that just absolutely crush it off the tee. But he's played well in a mix of golf courses this year. And so I think he's underpriced at 8,000 as well.
I got 2 guys in this range too, and one of them is Cam Young, who I love this week at 8,000. I really like the bounce back. He was playing really well, then missed the cut at the Players, missed the cut at the Masters, but then the 3rd RBC shows me that he really bounced back well, gained 10.7 tee to green in that event. Lost strokes putting and still finished 3rd. It shows me a lot about his ball striking right there. Last 6 tournaments, we're talking about a guy that has 4 top 20s. Like, that's really good for a rookie, really finishing high for the leaderboard. You look at the last 24 rounds in this whole field. 1st in tee to green, 1st in ball striking, 1st in off the tee, 4th in DraftKings points. Like, the stats line up crazy well for a guy who's 8,000. I think he's pretty mispriced in this field. My other guy in this range, I'm actually going to be fading Power because I'm going to go up a little bit to Max Homa. I think he feels a little bit cheap in this field too. Of course, I know. No surprise there with my boy Homa. If you look at 13 starts this year, 7 top 25s and a win, only 2 missed cuts. You look in this field, last 24 rounds, he's 15th in approach, 7th in ball striking, 12th off the tee. Stats we're looking at this week. I like moving off Power, who I think is going to be really popular. A lot of people are talking about Seamus Power this week. I'm a little bit worried about Power's approach numbers recently. They have not been great the last 3 or 4 events. I'm going to play Homa and Young kind of around him instead of him and go there. I like, you guys know I always love Paul Casey. I'm just a little bit worried about the back spasm. I think he fits really well for this course, but and a guy who hasn't played in a couple months, had to withdraw from the Masters. Backs always worried me, the golfer. So I'm going to stick with Homa and Young, and maybe give Casey a week to show me that the back's healthy.
Not a bad approach. We shouldn't use the word approach. It could be confusing, but not a bad consideration there. Let's look into the 7,000s. As always, we'll break it into halves because it's such a big grouping. Scott, in the first half of the 7,000s, who, if anyone, do you like?
Can I make that half 7,500 and above?
Yes, you may.
Because I like two guys exactly at 7,500. I like CT Pan. We talked about him last week. Made another cut. He's made 6 of 7 cuts, gained strokes and approach in 6 straight. We talked about that at the top. That's going to be a really key stat this week. You just look at his tee to green numbers. He's gained the last 7. He's 8th in this field in approach, 13th in tee to green. For his price, he grades out really well with a lot of the stats. And then I'm going to kind of ride the hot hand. I'm drinking out of the Stanford Cardinal Cup here. Brandon Wu again at 7,500. Course record on Sunday. Finished second in the event in Mexico. Made 4 straight cuts. All those are top 35s, 2 top 5s in that stretch. So not only making cuts, but finishing high up. Really good ball striking last week. Gained 6.8 strokes tee to green, 4.6 off the tee, 5.6 approach. Just playing really well. He's putting really well. I know he gained a lot of strokes putting last week, but I like that he combined that with all the other good metrics also. It wasn't just the putting he leaned on. I think we're finally kind of starting to see, we talked about him a couple for the last year or so. Maybe he's going to take that step up. I saw him play in the U.S. Open in 2019, looked good, but I think he's finally getting comfortable on tour, making that breakout. So I like Wu again. I'm going to kind of ride the hot hand here at 7,500.
Solid picks. I think we've got to take a moment, though, and acknowledge the fact that one of the original founding father friends of the podcast, Matt Kuchar, is starting to Matt Kuchar his way around.
I knew you were going there.
It's starting to happen, guys. We got 2 top 5s now in the last Harbor Town and San Antonio, I believe. So, I don't think I would put him on a straight ticket to win, but in a fantasy lineup at that price and the way he's trending, that price is tempting. I also like Aaron Rai, who, Scott, I think you got him on your season-long team, right? And you've mentioned him a few times. I just another guy I think trending the right direction. This is a smallish golf course. Rai, not a big hitter. Maybe this is the right profile again for someone like him who's should be coming into this event feeling pretty good about himself. So those are my 2 favorites off the top.
The American Sepp Straka has cost more than the actual Sepp Straka now.
How the turntables have turned, right?
Yes.
That's
I also think one other guy in here. I think if you're trying to make a cut and just kind of get 6 guys through, I think Joel Damon is a really good fit for this course. He's made 6 straight cuts. It's one of those courses that's really good for him. He's accurate off the tee, but not super long. I think at 7,700, I don't think he can win this tournament, but I think he's a really good bet to make the cut. And in the 7,000s, that might be enough.
Right. World needs cut makers too, for sure.
For sure.
All right, Jeff, on the bottom half of the 7,000s, is there anybody else there that can be a budget saver for you? Or are you dipping all the way into the 6s?
I think Francesco Molinari, isn't he? He's a past winner. Isn't this where he won by like 8 shots or something?
Yeah, he was 21 under in 2018.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's not recent form, but that's an impressive course history. I don't really see a lot in this tier. I saw Matthias Schwab got picked up in our season long league, and I didn't have time to. Sometimes I'll go and just look back at stats and see why. But I noticed our league of experts, which I still think it's the toughest fantasy golf league in the world. Somebody felt Matthias Schwab was worth picking up, but I don't really like this part of the tier, to be honest. I'd rather build it another way.
Yeah, that was Kyle Soppe who picked up Matthias Schwab, and he's been pretty dialed in when it comes to his pickups this year. So at least it's worth exploring a little bit more.
Schwab has 3 top 10s this season, which is a pretty surprising stat when you think about the fact that nobody really knows about him. But he has finished high up on the leaderboard a couple times. But a couple guys I do like in this range. I really like Nate Lashley again. We talked about him last week, and he delivered in a big way. He's 11th last week. Where he was in that range, that was a huge score. A lot of teams that did really well had Lashley, but you just kind of look at all his stats, and I just don't know why he's 7,000. I think he should be a little bit higher. If you look at shot gain total in this field, he's 12th over the last 24 rounds, like playing really well. He was 11th last week. He did gain huge in putting, but he gained in tee to green, gained approach, still played well. Last 4 weeks, he missed 1 cut. They made 3 top 20s. You do not get guys down this low that are making top 20s. Last 6 weeks, 5 top 30s, 4 top 20s, 3 top 15s. This is a guy that's really making a name for himself, getting on leaderboards, getting in the top 30. You give me someone at 7,000 that can finish top 25 and take that every day. Lashley's probably my favorite guy down here, and 7,000 I think is a little bit of an underprice. The other guy here, I like Adam Long a little bit. He's playing really well, back-to-back top 15s, 3 state top 35s. His shot gains approach is kind of average over that stretch, so I got a little bit less fired up about him at 7,400. I like Lashley more, and I like Wu and CT Pan a little bit more. So he kind of got lost in my mix, but I think he's playable. A guy who's hitting the leaderboard the last couple of weeks, but I'm worried about on this course his approach numbers are not quite what I was looking for. Yeah,
Long really started well in Mexico last week, 67, 66. It's just pedestrian over the weekend. Still pretty reasonable finish. One other guy I'm going to throw out there, top 10 last week. He's kind of boomer bust, is Alex Smalley. Seems to do better in the crappy tournaments, but second earlier this year at a small field tournament too. Not crappy, but you know what I mean. Lesser field tournaments.
Yeah. He hit it really well last week. You look at all his ball striking numbers. He didn't. Sometimes you see the guy like gained 8 strokes putting. You're like, all right, what's going on here? But he hit it well. Tee to green off the tee and approach is really nice. I like that as a play that probably not many people are going to be on either.
Yeah, so I might be on him. So we'll see. Anybody in the 6,000s, Jeff or Scott, chime in.
Well, Scott, you mentioned him last week, and I started following the career arc of one Andrew Novak as a potential
great week last week. Yeah, 15.
Yeah, and the price is not adjusted for it. I like, he's got around the green, approach to the green, top 50, I believe, on tour in both. You're just looking for hope. You're looking for another made cut. I'm intrigued by Andrew Novak, and so he's my favorite off this tier, replacing Austin Smotherman, who's had a nice run off the 6,000 line. But I think Novak, I'm intrigued and I'm watching.
Yeah, I was surprised his price didn't come up a little bit, finishing 15th last week. 3 top 25s last 5 tournaments. You do not get that for a guy at 6,500, and it was legit last week. He actually lost strokes putting, so he hit the ball. He gained 6.8 approach, 8.4 tee green. Just played really, really well. I'm very much intrigued. I think 6,500 is a really good price for Novak, and it's funny you mentioned Smotherman. I actually think this is a pretty good course for him too. I know we've talked about him. Jeff talked about him last week. Made the cut but didn't do much, but. You look at its shot gains approach in this field. Like that's a key metric always, but especially this week. In the last 24 rounds, he's 7th in the entire field. I was shocked seeing that. A guy who's 6,800. He's gained an approach in 6 straight events where they had a stat tracker because he played at a couple alt events where he didn't have that, but he's made 4 or 5 cuts. He seems to be struggling on the weekends. Jeff mentioned that as one and done, but making cuts, but not really doing much on Saturday, Sunday. Maybe he can take a little bit step up there, but he's just kind of brutal around the greens. The big problem with him. You worry with small greens, he's going to have to hit some chips, and he's lost strokes in the ground, the green 6 straight weeks. So that worries me a little bit. I think he's playable at 6,800, but I'd probably lean Novak just for kind of the recent form. Get the hot guy right now, and 6,500 is really cheap. You can do a lot in your lineup if you get Novak in there.
Yeah, for sure. Let's shift our focus from DraftKings to futures, sports betting, using the SI Sportsbook odds. Let's take a look at who we like here. Jeff, who's on your betting sheet for this week?
All right, so we're going to start up top. Again, the odds are just too short on Rory at 8-1. I can't do it. Connors, I think, is very tempting in our next pool type that we're going to talk about. But I'd start with Tony Finau at 22-1. I mean, he's off a nice week. He's a guy that's kind of drawn criticism, but he's maybe a reputation of not closing or not winning as much as someone with his talent should. But it's not a bad price in what's still a fairly weak field. I like Gary Woodland at 30-1, and then I probably would drop down. The SI Sportsbook has these fun bets you can make of just top 10s or top 20s. Where's our guy Matt Kuchar? He's at, let's see, top 10-1 for top 5. Yeah, 10-1 for a top 5. I'll do that.
And plus 5,000 overall. Same right next to our good friend Sepp Straka. So they're right next to each other.
And Andrew Novak at 6.5-1 just to make a top 20. I like that too. So those are the bets, kind of the same guys we just went through, and you can find some values on the board there as well.
Scott, who's on your betting sheet?
Yeah, I think the Connors decision is tough for me because it kind of affects what I do the rest of the way. But I think I'm going to bet Corey Connors at 18-1 and then drop back. I'm definitely going to go with Keegan Bradley at 33-1. I just think this is a really good setup for him, and he's playing really well. Then I'm going to drop even further back. Definitely going to bet Cam Young at 40-1. I think that is actually a misprice. I think he's way better in this field than 40-1. Max Home at 41 too. I think another underpriced. Then I drop way back for some darts. Brandon Wu, I think at 66-1, kind of ride the hot hand. And then a couple bucks on Nate Lashley at 110-1. I think a plus 850 top 10. And Nate Lashley's interesting too. He's kind of hitting leaderboards. Hasn't quite been up to that top 10, but I think in this field, he's got a good chance. I think 8.5-1 is nice there. If you want to get a little spicy, you go Andrew Novak is 15-1 to make the top 10. Really interesting there. And Smotherman's 13-1 to make the top 10. So if you want to just, some bets to watch on Sunday where you guys don't have to win, but maybe can sneak in the top 10. Novak and Smotherman, I like to make the cut, and then you never know what happens after that. But Connors, Keegan, Cam Young, Homa, kind of like my four guys this week that I really think one of them is going to make a big run on Sunday.
Yeah, I like those. I like both of you guys' selections there. I like digging deep there. I like the top 10 bets too. I think those are kind of fun.
Yeah,
you can bet. If you want to bet Corey Connors, you can bet Corey Connors plus 120 as top Canadian.
Who else is there?
Mac Hughes, Adam Svensson, Nick Taylor, Roger Sloan, Drew Nesbitt, and Michael Gligic.
I actually have like Roger Sloan rostered on our league, which tells you something about my team. It's a deep league. It's toughest league, Jeff Ritter said.
It is the toughest fantasy golf league in the world.
As I peruse the SI Sportsbook, I really like all the different options. You could bet top Asian, top South African, top Australian. There's a lot of fun stuff you could do. You can even go top Austrian. And it's pretty much a head-to-head between Sepp Straka and Matthias Schwab if you really want to get fun with that.
Where's the top Slovakian? Was Roy there? Is it by himself?
top fake Slovakian?
Yeah, exactly. All right. One and done. You know what? I'm going to go first because I always wait. And then it sounds like I'm trailing. But you guys convinced me. Jeff, you convinced me. I'm going Cam Young. I really like Cam Young this week. Gets me off that the top 10 tier. I think he breaks through, gets his first win.
I like it. I was down to 2. I usually enter this part of the show down to 2 and then just talk it out loud. Okay. I was down to Corey Connors and Cam Young. So I'll go Connors. But,
there you go.
I think your Young pick is also well justified and has a great shot.
I'm going to be fully honest. I was down to 3 and you guys took 2 of them. So do I go with the third one or do I follow one of you guys?
It's your money. It's where.
Well, just tell us the 3. You can do what you want in your pool. But
those 2 plus Keegan were the 3 I was deciding between. But I'm going to go Corey Connors. I'm kind of middle of the pack. I need another big week. I had Finau last week for the second. Need to make some gains. I think this is a week where I want to use Corey Connors just because there's probably not a ton of weeks that I feel like I really got to use Corey Connors. I think it's a good spot to use him in. Kind of the same theory I went with Finau last week, where this is the best feel I'm going to get for Finau, among the second tier guys. So I'm going to go Connors. Sorry, Jeff, I'm going to copy you, but hopefully we'll both win.
Plenty of room on the bandwagon.
Beautiful. Yeah. And if we're gonna go Connors in the same week, we got to do it. Friend of the podcast, we might as well just get on board.
Yeah, I burned him when he missed the cut, so we're that's how we're rolling this year right now.
At least that's out of his system, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. So that's good.
Yeah. Did you already pick Max Homa? I was wondering if he is a consideration for you.
I already picked Max Homa. He definitely would have been consideration for me.
All right, there you go.
Yeah.
Any other parting thoughts before we sign off for the Wells Fargo?
I wonder, could we start sending the Gaming Golf logo to certain players where we've basically sponsored them at this point? Like Smotherman, I don't know who's on his shirt.
Would you put our logo on for free for the high cost of free? But couldn't hurt. Couldn't hurt to try.
Better than a blank space, right? You got to show you're in demand if you're one of these up and coming guys.
I think before Straka won, we could have pulled it off with him, but he won, so I think it's gone now.
Yeah, he's priced out.
Yep.
I'm looking forward when we get past this week. We hit a pretty good stretch. We're going to AT&T next, then the PGA Championship. So it seems like we had a little bit of a lull here. Then we get those 2 tournaments. Then the Memorials come up after that. The U.S. Open. We've got a really good stretch of like 4 of 6 weeks that get really fun, really fast. But we had a great start to the season. We had a little bit of a lull here. But I think 4 of the next 6 get really fun.
Yeah, there's always that pocket, and you think, after the Masters, yes, this is a golf season. And then there's no slow down. We're going to just lull you to sleep for a little bit. And then we're going to have that breakneck pace from like the PGA through the British. They throw in the John Deere in there just to throw us off a little bit. But
do you guys think we get Phil and Tiger at the PGA?
I will say no and yes. I don't think we get Phil.
Okay. So Tiger, yes. Phil, no. I think I agree with you.
Yeah.
I would lean the same way. I have no...
Even as Phil is a defending champ, we all three of us said no. Interesting.
Yeah, I think
he's got to do something before the PGA. If he's going to come back at the PGA, he can't just come back at the PGA. It'd just be a circus. So time is running out to come back or do something before the PGA. So I think we're just a little farther down the road.
Sounds like Tiger's like out there doing practice rounds at Southern Hills. So I'm pretty certain he's gonna tee it up there.
Yeah, that's why I was pretty firm yes on Tiger. Not so firm on Phil, but leaning no. So there we go. All right. That's going to conclude this week's Gaming Golf. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll be back at you again next week, the Byron Nelson. Thanks everybody listening, and good luck this week.